I am on this plastic shower. I call these plastic because I don't really respect them. They are fiberglass shower enclosures that builders like to put in because they don't have to do any tiling. They're usually about $300 or $400 and they're quick and easy to put in. I have absolutely no use for them. If you look, I don't know, I have some videos from the past 3, 4, 5 years ago where I tear these out. A lot of people complain about, well, on my channel they complain about a couple of things. One is I talk too much, and you know, like, that's what I do, so too bad. I don't know how I can stop that. I'm trying to teach DIYers and stuff like that certain things about tiling and showers and bathrooms and stuff like that in general. The other issue is that I don't show my work because I don't have a secondary person like some people on YouTube to do the filming, and I'm not going to set up a tripod on every job I do because I'm wasting my customers' time doing videos rather than doing the work. But I do on occasion, well, not sometimes, I always critique work, bad work, or in this case it's not such a bad work, but it is a bad application. This is a customer who had put this tape in here. Under the tape they have done some caulking. So the caulking was done to stop a leak that they had in their ceiling. When these things crack, here's another one. I can't tear this out, it's adhering too well. Well, so you can't really see the crack anymore because all the caulking is in the way. But basically what happened, obviously, is that these things aren't necessarily stable. And when they crack, you're done. So you're forced to spend 2 or 3 times the amount of what this thing cost to begin with to redo your shower. Now, unfortunately, most builders say in this subdivision, every single house in this subdivision is going to have one of these, every single house. Well, all of these have this cracking problem? Probably not, but it's a 50-50 shot. It's like flipping a coin. So eventually, if you do have this problem, you're going to have to tear this out, and they come in standard sizes, so you would have to find one that fits this exactly to get it back in, and then by that time, what's the point? Most people just go ahead and do a tile shower, which is what I'm doing here. Anyway, so I'm going to show the tear out process. The tear out process on this is relatively easy, as opposed to if this was real tile and they had done a normal type of shower. Because it's fiberglass, you know, you can cut through it pretty easy. So I'm going to go over some of the explanation before I start doing the tear out. The shower doors are really easy to get off. This bottom rail is always caulked. This top rail is set in here with some caulking, but of course there's some spline in here in this window and all that stuff, and so these are all put together with screws. There are screws on the side rail here, there are screws on the side rail here, and once you get out all this spline and all the glass and the door is on a pivot type of hinge, so you just push the door up and get it out of there, and the rest of it is just screws and some caulking. The door comes out really easy. The shower fixture we're going to save because it's relatively new. There's nothing wrong with this, so we're going to save it. Shower head as well. And then the next process would be to cut through the sides here. So the way these fiberglass enclosures work, whether it's a tub enclosure, shower enclosure, all these fiberglass have a little lip on here. And it usually goes out about 1 inch or so. So if you can imagine, this edge here continues on this direction, and then it has screws, sometimes nails, that the builder puts in there. So there's going to be a 2x4 behind here that the builder has either screwed or nailed the edge of this flange into. So typically I come out about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and I start cutting around the whole perimeter. When you get this 1.5 inches of sheetrock out of here, you're going to expose all those screws and nails, and then you're able to get those loose, and then the whole thing will be pretty much free and clear except for the bottom part. The bottom part drain, I usually just take a circular saw and I cut a little square, which I'll probably show in a little bit. I cut a little square, and that kind of frees up the drain, so then I can get my sawzaw is right there, get a blade on that, and then I start running the blade about midway on this shower so I can get out this top piece, and then it kind of cracks up into pieces, and then the bottom piece comes loose, and then I usually cut that in half and get it all outside. Once that's done, there's nothing behind this fiberglass except studs. So there's no sheetrock or anything to deal with at that point. This is a relatively easy process to do, and again, some people on these videos that I've made in the past where I've taken these out are like, well, I really wish you showed the process of taking this out, but my explanation is the process. It's very, very simple to do. The only thing you have to be aware of is that there is sometimes piping that is, you know, coming up to feed the valve and all that stuff. So you can't come in here with sharp blades and stuff like that unless you know exactly where the piping is at, and in which case, you know, go for it. But because I do this so often, I don't really worry about it too much. When I get this top part out, I'm using a sawzaw blade, but I'm using it at a slight angle. And I know that this pipe right here isn't supplying water until the valve is on. So I'm not too concerned about that, but I always make sure that I don't hit that pipe. The bottom part usually comes out in one piece. I can kind of pull the whole thing out and then, you know, bend it, and as I bend it, it cracks into separate pieces, as well as the floor. But again, just be very careful. If you're not familiar with your tools, make sure that you turn the water off before you start cutting into this fiberglass, because again, you don't know where the piping is at. But that's the only precautionary type of thing that I can tell you. Otherwise, this is a very simple thing that'll take me 20 minutes, maybe, yeah, about 20 minutes, maybe 30 at the most. And then once that's free and clear, I can start doing the build back process. So the build back process is basically taking this whole fake shower enclosure out of here. Once that's all gone, I'm going to actually go up to the edge of this wall. Is not quite even with this wall here. So I'm going to use this as my point that I start my curb on. So my curb will go here and it'll go straight across, and there might be about an inch or two of excess room over here. If this was further out than this was, then I would use this side. So inevitably I'm going to end up with about 4 square feet deeper shower than I have now, which is great. So I'll get a bigger shower. Plus, when we take this fiberglass out, you got about 2 inches on both sides, and of course the tile's not that thick, so it'll be a much bigger, better shower. What I anticipate, and this is normally what I do, I anticipate what I'll be doing, and in this case it's no different. So I'm gonna, once I get all this out of here, I'm going to build the curb up. I'm gonna change the drain out, change the P-trap out of there. I will eventually scab in my little 2x6s along the 2x4s that are exposed once this is gone. I will cover all that up once I've set the drain, the new drain and the flange and all that stuff. I will cover all that up. And then I will put my shower pan in, pour my pan, put my wallboard on, and then eventually I'll tile all of this before I tile my walls. Of course, I'll red guard the walls. There's going to be a niche back there. So the tile that I'll be using is a 12x24, and it'll go elongated like this. It'll go staggered. There's going to be a 2x2, I believe, on a mat that is actually not the same color as the tile. The tile is almost the same color as this, but the customer wanted like a gray 2x2. So I'm putting gray 2x2 on here. And there'll be bullnose that will wrap around, because I'm not going to go up to the ceiling. This is a vaulted ceiling. I'll probably go up above the shower head slightly, about 7 feet. And the bullnose will wrap around this whole area and back down this way. So that's what I anticipate happening. It's it's about a 6-day job. Not necessarily 6 full days of work, because again, with showers, I'm not doing anything in this bathroom. All this tile is staying, the vanities are staying, toilet, all that stuff is staying. All I'm doing is a shower, but it's still a 6-day job because there's drying time. I got a dry time for the pan, I got dry time for the wallboard, I got dry time for the red guard, etc., etc. So out of 6 days, probably I'm going to say average will be about 5 or 6 hours a day until I get toward the tiling part about it. And when I get to the tiling part, then it'll be full days until it's done. So that's what I anticipate, and I'm going to get started. Okay, so you have now seen the demo process, one little bit at a time. As I said, it's about 30 minutes. It took me a little longer because I'm stopping and doing video and all that stuff, which is something I don't like to do all the time. But showing the process and verbally telling you how to do it are not really two different things. You saw me cut, or you didn't see me cut, but you watched all the different steps that have to be done in order to get this plastic thing out of here. A little piece I showed earlier, I have other videos. It looks like a spur. It's called an inside drain cutter, and it's $12, $14, something like that at Home Depot, and it makes it really easy to cut the drain once you get the flange off, which you saw me do with the sawzaw. I'll probably go down a little bit further than that. I'm more than likely going to use the same hole for my new drain, so I'll probably cut that out a little bit more. Anyway, getting back to here, as I said before, we're going to add about 4 square feet, or 4 more square feet, as it were, to this shower. So what I've done is I've come out to the very edge of this wall, and I've marked a line, and this line is exactly same distance from back to front, same distance from back to front, and that's all I've done is I've marked a line. So to get this tile out without breaking it, you can't really just chisel it out and all that stuff. That doesn't really work. So you're going to use something like this. This is a diamond cutting blade. It's a 4-inch blade. Make sure you have a shop vac because this thing kicks up a lot of dust. You just start close as you can, which is probably around here, and you just cut very slowly all the way down until you almost get to the end. The rest of it, you can take a little chisel and knock out the rest of it, and it'll come out pretty clean. That's how I do it all the time. Again, kicks off a lot of dust. It has a hose connector, but you can't really spray water on here because it's a floor upstairs. If this was concrete, you probably could. So make sure you have your shop vac, and don't be scared to cut into that. You're not going to go real deep because we have a floor below here. So you're only going to let the blade go in probably about this far, and you'll know when you hit the floor. But so I'm going to get to that. Okay, you can see I got a pretty clean cut on my line all the way up to the edge, and the edge over here. When I took a chisel to that edge of the tile, cracked a little bit, but it doesn't matter because this edge here is the outside portion of the curb. There'll be some wallboard, and then there'll be some tile outside of this so that it matches up to this. So the tile will come back here and cover up that little cracked area. That's not a big deal. The big deal is this is wet, and I was not anticipating the subfloor being wet this badly. In fact, it kind of stinks. You can see how black it is from it being wet for so long. So there's a backer board up under here, a perma-base, I believe. That's the only one that has this little foam stuff in it. And the backer board is saturated with water, as is this floor here. So rather than begin the process of building back everything, it would be kind of idiotic to do that at this point. Normally I would start setting the curb and doing a bunch of my prep to get ready to build the shower back up again. But in this case, I'm going to put a fan on it, let it run about medium speed overnight, and try and dry up most of this moisture because this is not good. But basically you get the gist of how to take out one of these and get it ready to do a real shower. Oh, by the way, because there was an enclosure here which came up to about here, there was never a reason for the plumber to go through the bottom stud, which they normally do. So this is kind of sucky for me because I actually got to cut out this flooring right here and be able to attach from the very bottom, drill a hole from the very bottom and bring these pipes back up through that stud in order for this to work. So if you run into that, you'll end up having to do the same thing I got to do. Wasn't anticipating that either, but you never know what you're gonna find when you start doing tear outs. Man, this carpenter was drunk. Look at this. Got about 1.5 inches over here, 1.5 inches cocked out over here. That's just horrible. Like I said, you never know what you're gonna find, but there it is. That's how to do the tear out of one of these.